Hello, this is Ron Clymer. I'm in Daytona Beach, Florida. I'm a real estate broker, but I want to talk to you about yesterday I posted a video entitled Free Leads that anybody can avail themselves to. Because one of the things I hear a lot as I talk to younger realtors, new realtors especially, they tell me, Ron, I don't have anybody to talk to. I didn't talk to a prospect yesterday. I didn't talk to a prospect the day before that. I didn't talk to one the day before that. Well, if you keep that up for about 30 days, you're going to start to feel a financial pinch. And so you got to talk to some prospects. And a lot of people see these ads for buy prospects, and my experience with that is those prospects are less than perfect. But let me give you the definition of what I call a good prospect, and tell me if you agree with this. I believe the definition of a good prospect is someone that needs or wants your product. And it doesn't matter whether you're a realtor, an insurance salesman, a car salesman, a furniture salesman. If you got something to sell, you need to be talking to somebody that needs that product. Well, okay, that's the number one thing. They need or want your product. The number two qualification, they can afford it. There's a lot of people that would love to have a brand new Corvette, but they can't afford it. So they're not a prospect. But if they need or want a Corvette and they can afford it, they're on the road. And the third thing is they need your product, they can afford it, and they're probably, likely, going to buy it from you or your competitor sometime in the near future. And so that's my definition of a prospect. And that's who you need to be talking to every single day. You don't need to be talking to some guy that's got no interest whatsoever in buying real estate, has no real estate for sale. He's not going to put any money in your pocket. It's needs or wants your product, can't afford it, and will likely buy it from you or your competitor in the near future. Well, yesterday on the other video, I told you to check out expired listings. Every day in the MLS here in Daytona Beach, Florida, and I'm sure this is true where you live, every day in the MLS, they come out with a list of all the listings that expired yesterday. In Daytona, we got about 6, maybe 10 on a good day. Some days it's 60 or 70, but mostly it's 6 or 8 or 10. They expired. That is, they listed with XYZ Realty 6 months ago. Yesterday, it expired. So today, they're as good a prospect as you will ever find. They're going to relist their house. They're not just going to abandon ship and say, oh, we got a new job in Cincinnati, but we'll just leave this house sitting here. They're going to relist that house with some realtor that calls them and asks them to. It's either going to be you or it's going to be your competitor. So let's let it be you. And so they meet those qualifications. Now, another thing that I mentioned yesterday was people that are selling their house for sale by owner. Well, let's see, they're advertising in the whatever media you found them in, Sign in the Yard, Zillow, wherever, that they are for sale by owner. They have their house for sale by owner. That is, they want to sell their house, but they don't especially want to pay a commission. Well, statistics have proven that about 80% of them end up paying a commission. That's close enough for me. So 80% of for sale by owners are my definition of a prospect. They need or want a realtor. They're going to buy it. That is, they're going to sell their house and pay a commission to a realtor. And I forgot the third qualification. And they're going to do it with you or your competitor sometime in the near future. And so for sale by owners are certainly good prospects. Now, another good prospect that was on the list, empty homeowners and heirs. You see a house that's empty, needs or wants your product, can't afford it, likely going to list with you or somebody else sometime soon. Although sometime soon might be a long time since nobody really calls these people except me. But give them a call, find out what they're doing. Why do y'all own this empty house? Do you want another one? And you never know. And so people that own empty houses, people that have inherited a house, we got tons of those in Florida. I don't know where you live, but where I live, this is where people come to cash in their chips at the end of the trail. And we have lots of these. And so call the heirs and say, hey, I see you got this empty house over here. And if I can help you with it, I'd love to. And so empty houses, heirs, so go back and watch that video if you need more leads, but there's plenty of leads to talk to. If you can't find anybody to talk to, you got to be asleep. So wake up and realize there's plenty of people to talk to. Now here's the important thing. Some people apparently think that it's not important what you say to people when you go out and talk to them. I personally think it's critically important because I believe, and tell me if you agree with this. Tell me if you agree with this. The main, number one, most important reason that people list with you instead of your competitor is the main reason they're going to list with you instead of your competitor is because they like you better than they like your competitor. Wow. Can you believe that? Do you believe that? You think there's some other reason? Trust me, I've been doing this a long, long time, and the main reason they list with you is because of all the realtors they met lately that wanted to list their house. You're the one they like the best. Boy, man, oh man, that feels so good when you get a listing. You know, you get a listing and you walk out the door and you realize the reason they listed with me is plain and simply because they like me the best. Isn't that cool? That's super cool. Of course, as cool as that is, you know what's just about the worst feeling in the world? The worst feeling in the world is when you go out and tell them how wonderful you are and your new technology and you got AI and you got this and that and you got this credential and you sold this many houses last year and you're just so wonderful. You tell them all that stuff. And they list with Susie Q over at Triple X Realty. Man, that is just, does that feel awful? Doesn't that feel terrible? It does. It just feels awful. And it feels awful. We call that rejection. Now, for some reason, sales trainers have quit telling you guys, you new guys, that there's a lot of rejection in the real estate business. It's kind of like senior dating. There's just a lot of rejection in it. And so, you know, what can you do? And so be aware that there's going to be a little bit of rejection here. And that's another seminar on how to handle rejection. But let me talk about this. If that's true, that the reason they list with you is because they like you, I think it would be important that you learn how to get people to like you. Would you agree with that? Can you imagine this? What if you applied for a job, you showed up, and the guy said, well, here's what we're going to do. This is a commission-only job, and here's what you have to do. You have to call these people up, and you have to make an appointment to go out to their house and visit with them. And most of them are happy, even eager to do that. And so they make the appointment. You come out and talk to them. You talk to them for somewhere between 10 and 50 minutes. And you talk to them as long as you want to. And when you're finished, you come back to the office. I'm going to call them on the phone and say, did you like that person that came out and talked to you? And if they say yes, I'm going to give you a $100 bonus. And if they say no, well, I'm not, nothing. You just wasted your time. You didn't lose any money, but you wasted your time. So if you get out there and make 3, 4, 5 people that like you, you can make $500 every day. And so now if you go out and none of them like you, this job's not going to work out too well for you. Now, how many of you think you could make a living doing that job? All you got to do is get them to like you. Now, if you had such a job and you were going out to see these people, let me ask you a question. Would you talk to them about what they're interested in, or would you talk to them about what I'm interested in? Well, I think maybe you should talk about what they're interested in. That'd be a real good idea. I've read that in some books and practiced it, and I'm sure it's right. Uh, as you got out there and talked to them, would you ever argue with them? I mean, you're out there to make them like you. You're not out there to do anything else except get them to like you. Well, if that's the deal, what could you argue with them about? I mean, just any subject that comes up, they're probably right. And, and in fact, I would encourage them to be right. Would you give them a compliment? Would you tell them their hair looked nice, even if they maybe it's not perfect? Would you tell them their hair looked nice? You like that outfit they're wearing? Would you admire their stuff? Gee, I love those little figurines you have over there on the mantle. Those are cool. And would you encourage them to talk about the little figurines that they have over there on the mantle? Because you know what? If they weren't proud of those little figurines on the mantle, they probably wouldn't be up there. And so, would you call them by their name? What do you think? You're out there just to get them to like you. Would you make sure you had their name right and use that name pretty frequently? If you're just out there to get them to like you, that's the only reason you're there. And would you arrive on time, or would you be about 10 minutes late? I saw a lament the other day on some Facebook group, and the guy was talking about people showing up early for an appointment. And, I don't know about y'all, I believe in Lombardi time. We got an appointment at 3 o'clock. At 3:01, you're late. And I promise you, Mr. Prospect feels the same way. Let me ask you this. Would you tell them that their house smells like an ashtray? I mean, it might smell like an ashtray, but I don't think they want you to tell them that. If they don't know, let's keep it a secret. Maybe they'll never know. Maybe they can sell out. Maybe they can sell it and get gone. Never even know that it smelled bad. Who knows? Would you disagree with them about anything? I wouldn't. Would you point out some ideas that they could change and improve? Oh, if y'all took out that old outdated 80s kitchen and put in a new one, I don't want to tell them that. I'm not there to be Mr. Remodel. I'm not selling them a remodel job. I'm selling them the services of a realtor. I want them to list the house with me because they like me more than they like Susie and Johnny and Randy and all those other people. And so I want them to like me. Would you bring a gift with you when you came? Maybe an emery board or something with your name and phone number on it. Yeah. Hey, I brought you a little emery board in case you get the urge to, file your nails or something. Or, bring them a little gift. Would you emit a judgmental attitude about things? Maybe their house is a little messier than you're used to. Maybe it does smell kind of odoriferous. But you don't have to point that out, and you don't have to express it with your attitude, unless, of course, you decide, well, I don't even want to list this house. Well, in that case, say goodbye, hit the road, be on your way. And now, would you think you'd smile a lot? You're out talking to them. I'm telling you, I have been out with other agents talking to people, and they look like they were weaned on a pickle or something. They just sit there in a big old ugly frown, and who wants to look at that? Would you pet their cat? What do you think? The little cat jumps up on the table. Would you pet their cat? I tell you what, I would. You'd be competing with somebody that was petting their cat. Would you ask them how they won that trophy that's over there on the top of that shelf? And would you listen to the story when they tell it to you, which it's an extremely long story? If they had a new Corvette out in the garage, would you think that's about the coolest thing you've ever seen in your life? I mean, that is cool. That is really cool. And if they ask you a question like, we just put in a pool, cost $50,000. You think it adds $50,000 value to my house? Would you tell them, no, probably about half that much? No, I'd say maybe it could. Who knows? I'm not an appraiser. That's not what I do. And so if they want to leave the TV on while you're talking, would that be okay with you while we're there in their house? And so my point is, when you get out there, would you send them a little thank you note after you went back home? Send them a thank you note in the U.S. mail. It costs 70 cents today to send that thing, but it's worth it. If they had a boat or a motorcycle out in the garage, would you tell them you had a bigger boat and a prettier motorcycle? I think I might mention I had a boat, but man, it wasn't as nice as theirs. Wasn't as cool as theirs. And a motorcycle, I got an old ratty motorcycle, but it ain't nothing like yours. So. But would you show them pictures from your phone? You know, there's no pictures in your phone that anybody buying real estate wants to see. Not your grandchildren, not your trip to Europe, not the most unusual thing. You seen Sasquatch last week? They don't want to see your pictures on your phone. They might act like they do, but they don't. And you feel the same way in reverse. But if they want to show me pictures from their phone, I'll look at it all afternoon. I got time. What would you have your phone with you? You can leave it laying on the front seat of the car, be all right with me. But would you ask them questions that made statements? Would you ask them questions more than you made statements? You don't have to be making statements all the time. You can ask a question. Y'all doing this or y'all doing that? So I have a video, an old video I put up a couple years ago called Questions. And it's about how to ask questions instead of, let me tell you what I think, because nobody cares what you think. But you can ask them questions and find out what they think, and that's what you really want to know. So if you go out there to talk with them, now by the way, I'm talking mostly about for sale by owners. And for sale by owners are such good prospects. They're such easy prospects. They just don't happen as fast as we wish they did. But anybody you're talking to, there's just certain rules. If you haven't read a couple of books like Dale Carnegie's book written in 1937 about how to win friends and influence people, that book is as relevant today as it was in 1937. The sweetest sound in any language is still somebody's name. People love it when you call them by name. People love it when you talk about what they're interested in. People love it. Everybody hates it. You ever get that guy that just, let me tell you about this, you know, and listen to their stories. They want to talk to you, especially, well, we got more than our share of people my age. People my age, we love to talk. That's probably why I'm making this video. Who knows? But do you understand that being liked, this is not an accident. I mean, sometimes it happens accidentally. In fact, a lot of times it happens accidentally. But more often, if you plan on, I'm going to see these people and I'm going to make every effort I can to get them to like me. And, you know, that's the only reason I'm there. Because if they like you, don't hope it happens. Make it happen. Make it happen for you. And so people like doing business with people they like and trust. Like and trust. And so I assume you're honest. If you're not, work on that. But be honest. And people know you're honest when you're honest. People know you're a liar when you lie. And so make sure that you're honest. And then do these things. And read some books. Read, like I say, Dale Carnegie. There's all kind of books that you can read about things. But does this make some sense? I mean, is what I'm saying make sense to you? And if it does, let me tell you what I'd like you to do. If this makes sense and you'd like to have some more of this, hit that subscribe button. But not only hit the subscribe button, but go down to the comments, and if you got something that you need to know, you think, gee, I wish I knew how to work with foreclosures better. Or I wish I knew how to work with heirs better. So write me a comment, tell me that, and I'll put up a video about it. So hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for listening. I hope I've said something that makes sense to you. Good luck. Keep calling prospects. Call a prospect every day. Bye.